Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Welcome to another episode of Giant Cocktails. I am your host, Ben Henry, alongside my brother, the exultant Matthew Henry. How you doing, Matthew?
Totally exultant. Anytime the Giants beat the Dodgers, I'm feeling good. I feel like Snoopy, when he's happy and he just looks to the sky and he has the flappiness, to him when he gets all happy.
Right. He's got the kicking legs, just
exactly,
super fast.
Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and that's how I'm feeling today because the Giants beat the Dodgers. So how could you be sad? And
this is the first time that the San Francisco Giants have beaten the Los Angeles Corpo version of the Dodgers.
In history.
This one where they spent all this money and paid all this money to just, build a team of, just no character, no soul. We all know the Dodgers don't have a soul to begin with, but now they're just wearing it out there in front of everybody. With this, let's just buy all the things, right? There's nothing interesting about our team, and and so this is the first time that the Giants have beaten that with grit and determination.
And we were literally one fly ball from sweeping.
Oh, from sweeping, yeah, I know. And don't get me wrong, I'm still mad at Patrick about that, and I'm probably gonna be mad at Patrick about that for a long time.
Well, that's just the way you are. Yeah.
Yeah. If he had just hit that ball into play, Matthew, there's a lot of ways that the Giants win that game.
Totally.
Striking out was I would have rather seen him popped out, than striking out. He just looked lost in that at bat. That was not cool. But that is not what we're here to talk about.
No.
But also, Matthew. So yes, the Giants beat the Dodgers. But something more important happened this weekend that we have to talk about. We're going to cancel the rest of the show. We're just talking about this.
Oh,
okay.
That's not in the show notes.
It's right here at the top. I don't know what you're talking about. The series of the season happened, Matthew.
Okay.
Two of the worst baseball teams to ever strap them on played this weekend. The Colorado Rockies went to Chicago to take on the Chicago White Sox. And, one of the lost organizations versus one of the lost teams of all time. The Rockies at the White Sox. And I thought that's what we could talk about today. Just,
Sure, two bad teams battling it out, right? Didn't they go to extras this game?
Well, yeah. Okay, we're not really going to talk about this all day, but I did want to point out, unfortunately for you National League West fans, the Rockies did lose. But are we surprised? Think about it.
Did they lose?
We have the worst team. They lost the series, Matthew.
Oh, okay.
We have the worst team in the National League West. So never fear, the Colorado Rockies are still our punching bags.
Well, yeah, exactly. It only helps the Giants to have the Rockies suck.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. The White Sox won the series 2 out of 3. And they outscored the Rockies by 9 runs. But what was most interesting, Matthew, is the game that they played today went 14 innings.
Yeah, I saw that. You don't see that very often where it goes 14, especially when you got the Manfred runner on.
That's right. But you know how it went 14 innings?
I'm guessing that. No, I have no idea. How did it happen?
Because these were two of the worst baseball teams to ever play, and they stranded the Manfred runner 5 times. 5 times the Manfred runner was stranded. I don't think they scored a runner beyond the Manfred runner at any point during those extra innings.
Well, I was just thinking the Dodgers scored more runs in extra innings yesterday than these teams did in 14 innings.
I almost combined. The Dodgers scored more against the Giants on Saturday in extra innings than I think the White Sox and the Rockies did combined in 5 innings where they had the Manfred runner in every inning. They went 4 straight half innings without scoring the Manfred runner between the two of them. Anyway, the good news is, folks, you are not Chicago White Sox fans and you are not Rockies fans.
That is very good news.
With that being said, Matthew, I'm going to ask you the trivia question, because that's what we're actually doing today is we're celebrating this defeat of the Dodgers by the Giants. And so here's my question for you.
Okay.
You know, the Dodgers, they got problems, man.
They do.
I mean,
they're not invincible this year. No.
They are not. They are not. They had this Knack guy going Friday night. Who?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the lesser version of Mason Black and Hayden Birdsong, right? He's like not even as good as those guys, and they're rolling him out there. And then we saw what Paxton did today. They got problems, right? And then you get to Glasnow, and suddenly they don't look very good at all. And here's the thing, Matthew, the Dodgers, they don't have the best record in the National League, and they're kind of not really that close. And in fact, the Brewers are closing in on them. They're only like 2.5 games behind the Dodgers for the second best record in the National League, which means if the Dodgers make the playoffs, they could have to play the first weekend.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you, Matthew.
Okay.
In a scenario where the Giants and the Dodgers both make the playoffs, would you rather see the Giants beat the Dodgers in that playoffs? Or would you rather see the Giants and Dodgers never face each other because the Dodgers got eliminated before they ever got a chance to face the Giants?
That is a good question. The competitor in me says I want to beat the Dodgers myself.
Yeah, of course.
But the punk-ass fan says, no, I want the Dodgers to lose, like right off the bat.
Yeah, I think the fraudenscheid of having them lose to somebody else and having the Giants make it to the next round would just be so wonderful.
Yes.
So wonderful.
And Dodger fans, it'd just be fun to just, poke them again. Yeah.
Right. Because, losing to the Giants is bad enough. But I think that almost overshadows the fact that they would be this great juggernaut and they lost in the first round. Right? Like, if they lose to somebody else besides the Giants, it's more insulting. Because then they can just be like, oh, Giants-Dodgers rivalry, blah, 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 blah. So I agree. I would much rather see the Dodgers lose to somebody else just because it's better to rub that in.
Absolutely. And before we get in, I know you're about to go into the whole thing here, but I did want to say that I am recording outside of my closet today.
Oh,
and so
wow.
It may be a little echoey, and I apologize for that, but I'm on vacation. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, congratulations on getting outside of the closet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and finally got myself out of there. So, the younger daughter went off to camp, and I'm like, I'm out of here. So I am now like, I'm free. I'm
free man. Well,
yep, spending it with a special someone and having fun. So.
Bird now. Anyway. Today is Sunday, June 30th. As we record this podcast, your San Francisco Giants went 5-2 this past week.
Woo!
To bring their record to 41-44. Still not even back to homeostasis.
Oh man, it took a 5-2 record just to get like close to homeostasis.
Those 5-game losing streaks, Matthew, they'll really do it to you.
They will.
But, they had a very great series against the Cubs, going 3-1, having the opportunity to get the 4-game sweep. It didn't happen, unfortunately, and even though it came very, very close. But, you do the best you can. And more importantly, though, and as we have already celebrated today, the Giants went 2-1 against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And this was key. Because the Giants hadn't beat them like 4 series in a row. Okay? Snapped. Also going in, I was reading all these stupid articles because, it's Dodgers everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's a Dodgers.
Oh, yeah, there's always a stat about the Dodgers, for sure.
And they were all going on about their 57-year-old shortstop, Miguel Rojas, who's, holding down the fort because,
Because Mookie's hurt.
Yeah. Mecky Boots or whatever his name is hurt. Well, they were all like, oh, we're 25-0 whenever Miguel gets a hit. Snapped. He got a hit on Friday night, and they lost because they suck. Ohtani came in on an 11-game RBI streak. Snapped. Also on Friday night. In fact, Shohei Ohtani went 2-12 in this series with 1 home run, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm just going to say 1 RBI. I'm pretty sure that's true. And 6 strikeouts, including an 0-for-5 stint today, Sunday, as we record this podcast, when he was absolutely embarrassed by a 29-year-old rookie who played professionally in France. And I say it that way because it sounds more insulting.
Vive la France.
Spencer Bivens to the rescue.
Spencer Bivens got the win by striking out Ohtani on 3 pitches.
That's right. To finish the fifth inning.
inning.
Yeah. That was amazing. And that third strike, the slider, it was just so good. It was just so good. Because that was way inside. It almost hit Ohtani. It was such a beautiful pitch. I was so fired up. I was jumping around, and me and my dog, and he's no spring chicken, my dog.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't jump as much as he used to.
No, and he's 110 pounds, so it's like he's got to put a lot of effort into it. We were dancing around the living room. It was pretty awesome. So, and so where does that mean the Giants are in the standings? Well,
we're right back in it, right?
It means they're 11 games out of first place in the National League West. And somehow, despite all of this, Matthew, it feels like we found a new, different kind of homeostasis. The Giants are still 3 games out of the last wild card spot. Now currently being held down, I believe, by the St. Louis Cardinals, because the Padres have just gone off.
The Padres, Padres are what? I
don't like it. They're good.
They're 8-2. 8-2 in the last 10 games.
NFL 10. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
The
Dodgers
They're
are better
actually the
than
second
Giants.
wild card team now. The Cardinals are the third. Yeah.
And they're starting to pull away with it. The Padres are better than the Giants. And one of the 3 teams that the Giants have to pass to get into that third wild card spot is the Arizona D-Bags.
Yeah. We're a half game behind them. Yeah.
So I'm feeling very excited about this Dodger series win, but there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done, is what I'm saying.
We're just slightly over halfway through the season, Ben.
That's true.
We got lots of time.
That's true. I mean, and Spencer Bivens is going to lead us to the promised land. He's going to become one of our starters, and he's going to pitch the first game of the second round of the playoffs. That won't be against the Dodgers because they will have been eliminated. Anyway,
I like it.
Matthew, hit us with the trivia question.
All right. Well, I was trying to come up with a trivia question that was appropriate for this time of year. And so I came up with one that I think was really interesting. So my question for you, Ben, is how many future Hall of Famers were on the 1962 San Francisco Giants?
Let's see here. Let me think about this for a second. Okay, Matthew. So here's what I know. Back then, there were only 25 roster spots. There were not 26 like there are today.
Yep.
And not every person that's on every team makes the Hall of Fame, but we're talking about the 1960 San Francisco Giants. So I'm going to go with 24 in honor of one Willie Mays.
All right. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see
24.
how wrong Ben is at the end of the episode.
What do you mean wrong? I'm not wrong. You're wrong.
Isn't it time for the booze, boys?
Yes, Bob. Right. Definitely time for the booze.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Well, Bob, I am drinking something called the Elder Fashioned. And it's basically a gin old fashioned. And it was created by Phil Ward of the famed Death & Co. So I can't take credit for this, but it's a very simple template. It's got 2 ounces of gin. In the original iteration of this, it was Plymouth gin because Plymouth actually has a nice, slightly sweeter profile than a regular London Dry or something like that. And it's got half an ounce of St. Germain, elderflower liqueur, and 2 dashes of orange bitters. You put all those in a mixing glass with ice, give it a good stir, strain it into a rocks glass with preferably a big chunk of ice, and you're going to garnish it with a grapefruit twist. And that's what I'm drinking tonight, an Elder Fashioned.
That's a tasty cocktail.
Yes, it is, Bob. It's actually really good. I'm really enjoying it on a nice, hot summer evening.
What are you drinking, Ben?
Well, thank you for asking, Bob. That's very kind of you. Bob, today I am drinking a cocktail. Well, this part of the show, folks, we try to actually make shorter and shorter because we felt like the cocktails were taking up too much part of the show. But I do want to drag this out a little bit because today I am making a cocktail to make amends to a particular San Francisco Giant. And one of the ways that I was going to make amends is I was just going to drink a Negroni because we all know how much I hate Negronis, especially Campari. But I thought, you know what? This guy deserves more than that. So I have named this cocktail after him, and the name of the cocktail is the Giant Banana. And there is a trivia question attached to this cocktail.
Oh, okay.
Which is, Matthew, are you familiar with the baseball team, the Savannah Bananas?
Of course. Yeah, who isn't?
Yeah, who isn't? They're like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, right? Barry Zito has played for them. Hunter Pence has played for them. But recently, after they were Giants, there is, believe it or not, one player on the current San Francisco Giants who was a previous Savannah Banana.
No.
Who was it? Well, he was the Giant Banana, the person that this cocktail is named after, and I will give you his actual name when I'm done with the ingredients. What's in a Giant Banana? Well, it has 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, half an ounce of Campari, and then half an ounce of Banana do Brazil, which is a banana liqueur. Now, I didn't get this inspiration myself. There's a cocktail out there called the Banana du Boulevardier, and that has bourbon in it. But this is just a Negroni with some of the Campari removed and banana liqueur added. Mm. And so it's not as crazy as it sounds, folks, okay? This whole banana liqueur Campari thing is like a thing that people are experimenting with. And so don't turn your nose up at this one, okay? Give it a taste. It's actually pretty good.
I was going to say, how does it compare to a regular Negroni?
It's way better because there's less Campari in it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I may have given myself a little bit of a softball here by building a cocktail in honor of the Giant Banana, also known as Brett Wisely, former Savannah Banana. Because, folks, the Savannah Bananas were not always just only an exhibition team. They were also, and first, a collegiate summer league team. They don't do that anymore. For a period of time, they did both. But now they are exclusively an exhibition team because that was more lucrative for them. But while they were a summer college team, Brett Wisely was a middle infielder for them, a utility man. Believe it or not. So, Mr. Wisely, after you hit that walk-off home run on Friday night, I felt that I had to make full amends for how much I have bagged on you tremendously for the last, season and a half. My humblest apologies. Thank you for what you have done, even though you have a 358 BABIP. No, I don't mean that. You're also swinging the bat faster. You're hitting the ball harder, and you're not swinging at balls down in the zone. I see the changes you made, sir. I see the changes you made, and they're working, and I like it. You're also getting ahead in the count, like way better than you were last year. So you've done a lot of changes that makes me feel this is real. But still, 358 BABIP.
All right.
Why do I do that? I can't.
I don't know. You just can't give him a nice compliment.
I can't help myself. I love you, Brett.
You just try and you make a drink for him, and then all of a sudden you're like bad mouthing the guy. Jeez.
Yeah, and then I overdo it and say I love him. God,
typical.
Save
all
me,
right.
Matthew.
Well, I'm going to save you because we're going to change subjects here. So today we had promised that we're going to do a deep dive into the halfway season part of the season. Right, we're 3 months in. It's time to kind of give our MVPs and our most improved and all that. But before we do that, Ben. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the passing of Orlando Cepeda, the baby bull. Yeah. And it's been a really cool thing to be a Giants fan with all of these living Hall of Famers, like Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda, Willie McCovey, So it's sad that we've lost two within like 10 days. It was great. It was not great. It was terrible to hear in the middle of the game this week that Orlando had passed. They did a moment of silence for him at the ballpark. But I thought it would be great if we actually could just maybe remind the listeners how good Orlando Cepeda was. He played for 6 different teams over 17 years, most of them with the Giants. I think there was like 7 or 8 seasons, maybe even 9 seasons with the Giants. And he played with the Cardinals, the Braves, the A's, the Red Sox, and the Royals. And he played for the Giants from 1958 to 1966. And the man rang up some awards. He was the 1958 Rookie of the Year. He was the 1967 National League MVP with the Cardinals. He finished second in MVP voting to Frank Robinson in 1961. He was an 11-time All-Star, and he was the first player of Puerto Rican descent to start an All-Star game in 1959. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1999 via the Veterans Committee. And he also, in 2001, won the Ernie Banks Positive Image Lifetime Achievement Award, which in itself is a impressive thing considering that he went through a stint where he was imprisoned because he was arrested for drug trafficking. Marijuana, and so really turned his life around and was a lifelong ambassador of the Giants, and just a true Giant. And I know he's going to be missed. The player, though, was an incredible 297 lifetime average, 350 on base, 499 slugging, a lifetime OPS plus of 133. He led the National League in home runs with 46 in 1961, which remains a San Francisco Giants club record for right-handed hitters. So no other right-handed hitter has hit more home runs than the Baby Bull for the Giants. He also led the National League twice in RBI with 142 in 1961 and 111 in his MVP year in 1967. So Orlando Cepeda, the Baby Bull. I also really love his Cha-Cha Bowl. So just, there's a lot to love about Orlando Cepeda.
I mean, you're absolutely right, Matthew. I think a lot of these guys we didn't get to see play. And most fans living today didn't, right? Because they did it so long ago. But, they have always been there. And I think the Giants have done such a great job of making these making these players feel like they're still part of the organization, and making that term "Forever Giant" a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think the mood, the feeling that I had when I saw them display it on the screen was just, it was just heartbreaking. It's just a tough thing to take, and I know that how, especially after coming off of losing Willie, was just kind of just it almost feels impossible. Yeah, that you would lose another great like that. I did think it was interesting though that and I know this is just coincidence, but maybe it's not coincidence because Logan Webb was on the mound for the second time when it was announced that one of these legends had passed, and I think in a lot of ways that Logan represents the Giant player today, right? I mean, he's a guy that
he's like a throwback to the old school way of playing baseball.
Exactly. He bleeds orange and black. And I don't usually believe in those sort of mystical things like that, but then I saw a photograph of the walk-off after Brett Wisely was hit the home run, and they're throwing the water around in the water bottles, and they do it in an arc, so it creates these arc-shaped changes. And just as the photographer took the photo, the water had formed a circle, and then a shape that looked like a C. So it looked like his initials were there over the top of the walk-off celebration at home plate, and that was
that was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool, and it's tough to see and it's tough to take, but it's also fun to just remember what a great organization this is, and what a great sport this is, and how much a sport can bring people together. and communities together and make us all feel like we're part of the same thing, pulling for the same thing, and create a community. And so I think that's really kind of what I've taken out of, a lot of the attention that we've seen. And the one thing that I thought was really interesting about Orlando, and I'd heard this when I was hearing stories about Willie when he had passed, was that it seemed as though the San Francisco fans really liked Orlando Cepeda because he made his major league debut on opening day, the first season that the Giants were in San Francisco.
Yeah,
then
he was always a San Francisco Giant.
Right, right. And in many ways, he was kind of the first San Francisco Giant because of that, right? Like, because he wasn't a New York Giant before that. And he had only played for the San Francisco Giants up to that, when he started his career. And, and then he wins Rookie of the Year. Right. And then he just becomes this perennial all-star almost from the get-go. And, and so, and I think a lot of ways, Willie had said even that it was kind of clear to him that they liked Orlando. Maybe they held Orlando a little bit closer to their hearts than they did him, but he was totally fine with that. Right. Because he was such a great player. And so I thought that was interesting too. Kind of in a lot of ways, the first homegrown San Francisco Giant. And it's a real bummer to see him go. But at the same time, I think we're lucky to be fans of such a great organization. I mean, we could be fans of the Dodgers, and God, how horrible would that be?
Oh, that would be awful. Awful dystopian view. All right. Well, rest in peace, Orlando Cepeda. Thank you, Baby Bull, for all you did for the Giants. I think it's time to segue into what we planned to talk about, which was the halfway mark of the season, Ben.
The halfway mark.
And we have every month, we have kind of done a little bit of a look back into how everyone's doing. And we've nominated MVPs and unsung heroes and winners of most improved. And we've nominated most improved. And I think we got to do that again, don't you think?
We do. We have to. I committed us to doing this.
You did. You said, you talked to our mother, and she said, "Yeah, we have to do it."
That's right.
And so that's
right.
So now we got to do it.
As I said, the listeners were clamoring. Matthew, the one that I talked to, said, "She didn't say that. She didn't even know." I said, I said, I explained to her this thing, and she was like, "What? You do what?" I was like, "Never mind." But we're doing it anyway. Every 27 games. Although we're 30 games now. We're 30 games since we last did this.
That's okay. Well, so MVP candidates. And I think we're talking first half, right? Not just last month. This is like maybe the first half.
I mean, you could do it however you want, Matthew. You're a free person.
All right. Well, I'm gonna throw out a name for first half MVP.
Right.
I'm gonna name it Lamont Wade Jr. as my first nominee for MVP.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you why, but first I just have to say I actually like this one a lot, Matthew, because I think it is appropriate for the last month. Because even though he played like 0 games.
I think it illustrated how important, how valuable the man is, right?
That's
when you're talking most valuable, when he goes missing and they just slump like crazy, maybe Lamont Wade Jr. should be the MVP because he was leading the league in on-base percentage when he went down. He was obviously probably the Giants' most offensive threat at the plate, and they sorely missed him when he went down. So he is my nominee for MVP of the first half.
I need to unmute my mic. I agree that is a good nominee. I think we should throw a couple of out there before we give out the award.
Oh, if you insist. Okay.
I am going to nominate the guy who basically, when he arrived, is when the Giants first showed that they could actually be good this year, and has stepped into basically the role as the offensive leader on the team. I don't know if this is true as of this moment, but briefly led the team at the very least in home runs, even though he was 2 months behind.
Yeah, not true because Matt Chapman hit a home run today. So
right. That's right. Yes, that's right. And so yeah, and that's Elliot Ramos, who has also played a really solid center field. Yeah. And I would not have thought that. I mean, I know he's played there a lot in the minor leagues, but I don't think he really in my mind, he's more of a corner guy. But really quite athletic out there, just an all-around great player. And really, I think at one time 3 years ago when we started this podcast, Matthew, or almost 3 years ago when we started this podcast, we were talking about when the Giants would be good. And we said he was kind of the tip of the spear of the new class of position players that were coming up. And to finally have him break through in 2024, which, by the way, I think you asked me in one of our earliest episodes, when would the Giants be good and when would they start breaking through? And I said 2023 or 2024, and I felt more confident about 2024, and you were just so upset that we made it 2023. I wish you were right, and I wasn't.
Well, we're still waiting to be good, so neither of us were right.
Right. Well, no, I meant when were the young guys going to come up and start to establish themselves? And here we are, 2024. So, I mean, these things.
Okay, that's a great nominee. I feel obligated to remind the listeners that you called him the never will be.
Elliott Ramos. No, not just once, many times.
Yes.
Many times.
Yes.
But Gabe Kapler agreed.
That's true.
So I'm not, I'm in.
You should have been fired along with Gabe Kapler.
Yeah, there it is. I should have been fired as a fan along with Gabe Kapler. You know what, Matthew? At least I communicate. I have a podcast.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna make another nominee for MVP.
Do it,
because on the pitching side, we've struggled a little bit, except when it comes to the ace of the staff, Logan Webb.
Yeah.
And Logan Webb, I mean, his record maybe doesn't reflect it, but when you only have 2 starting pitchers, or 3 at the most, and you're relying on your bullpen to pitch multiple innings, Logan Webb has proven to be probably the most valuable on the team because he eats innings and gives the relievers a break before the next game. And so Logan Webb is another nominee for me for MVP for that reason alone. Well,
I think Friday night was a perfect example of that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, right now the Giants are in a horrible way. I've heard people, complaining about how the bullpen is being used. And I think the bullpen usage right now is nothing short of brilliant because of how bad things are with the starting rotation. But
it's not like they want to do this. They just don't have any choice.
No. And so I thought Friday night, especially, against the Dodgers, a team that got to him early on in the season, a team that he wants to beat, I think, more than anyone. And he went out there and he pitched, brilliantly for 7 innings. I actually watched a little bit of that game on the Dodgers broadcast because I can do that. And it was really interesting to hear them talk about Logan Webb and his defense and how the leading sports info, I can't remember what the name of the organization is, but, all of the professional places, they get their stats from this organization, and they ranked all the starting pitchers by defense. And this organization ranked Logan Webb dead last. And Oral Hershiser, and don't get me wrong, folks, I hate Oral Hershiser. I respect the man as a baseball person, but I hate him. He badmouths every person that isn't a Dodger. He's arrogant as an announcer. But I will tell you this, he did not agree about Logan Webb's defense. And then Logan Webb on Friday night put on a defensive clinic, turning 2 tough double plays and then making a really great play on a bouncer, a really high chopper off to his right. And then, of course, but as you said, he doesn't have a good record. Well, what happened to him Friday night? He left winning, and then the win got vultured from him. So, but yeah, I mean, without Logan, this team is nothing. Yeah. So that's a good choice. All right.
Thank you.
Well,
one more, Ben.
I don't know. This is ridiculous, dude. I don't know why you put this name on this list. I think we should put a reliever in here, like Ryan Walker. I would rather put Ryan Walker. Look, he's
on the unsung heroes list, but
Brett Wisely,
Brett Wisely,
no,
could be the MVP. No, I mean Brett Wisely batting .296, Ben.
No,
with a .325, he's got a .769 OPS.
And his defense is really good too. He's above average on defense. The total combination.
The point is that we've needed him to be this. And he came in. We've had injuries, and Luciano wasn't the solution, and he has
Nick
just
Ahmed got hurt.
continued to deliver. And So I don't care what you think about Brett Wisely. I feel like he deserves considerable recognition as a possible MVP candidate for the Giants.
Veto. No, I'm fine. Yes, Brett Wisely.
All right,
MVP.
Drink your giant banana or your Wisely banana or whatever.
My
it's
giant
called.
banana.
And just be quiet.
Which also is a compliment just in the name itself, okay? For those of you who just didn't read between the lines.
All right.
And I don't even know the man.
Unsung heroes. I just mentioned one.
Well, okay, so are we going to pick an MVP or are we just nominating?
I don't know. Are we? I don't know. How are we going to do it?
Well, we got to pick one, or you got to pick one and I got to pick one.
Okay. All right. Well, sheesh. Those are some good candidates. I think I'm just going to go with Lamont Wade just because of how much they missed him when he was out. That's what I'm doing.
Ooh, that's tough. I'm going with Ramos over Webb. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. I just think it was without him.
Chicks dig the long ball.
None of this happens. Yeah. And so does Ben. Ben digs the long ball. All right. Unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes is a huge MV or free agent acquisition eligible to be an unsung hero?
Well, I would say no, given what you just did. Like, I would have flip-flopped these two names. I would have put this name up into the MVP category. You seem to hate this guy. Like, he's your Brett Wisely.
I think there was a lot expected of Matt Chapman, but if you look at his current numbers,
and he's met those expectations exactly.
Well, I was gonna say, outside of maybe his power numbers, he's almost exactly on his career numbers.
Right. I don't know. It's like all of you people wanted somebody who didn't exist.
But the biggest thing that I think is the defense, which people don't really appreciate, and the fact that he's played, I think, in all but one game.
He's been Iron Man, yeah.
And so that alone, I think, deserves some unsung hero recognition because he's been available.
Okay.
He's been
I get it. Okay.
And
yeah.
So that's my argument there. I feel
I
like
that's
it. Underappreciated.
No, I like it. I like it because I think a lot of people are probably like you. He hasn't done enough. He hasn't been what we expected. Like, I've been championing the guy since before he ever played a single game. Like, everybody's like, oh, he's not. And I was like, look, the guy's only one hot streak away from hitting his normal numbers. And then boom, he hit the hot streak.
Yeah.
And like he plays. The only thing that has been wrong with him, I think, is the number of errors that he has made. But you look at all of his other defensive analytics, they have been absolutely amazing. And also, he passes the eye test every day. Every day he passes the eye test. Like, he's just amazing out there. And, and then, it's funny because the home run he hit earlier in the series, I was just thinking to myself, here's Matt Chapman. Like, he could run into one. And boom, he ran into one. And that's what you get from him. You get a 240 hitter who plays great defense and then every now and then hits an absolute bomb. And check.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's on pace this year for 20. His career average, I think, is like 27. So he's down a little bit on his power numbers, but everything else, I just think the fact that he shows up every day and plays great defense is enough to be an unsung hero.
Right. Agreed. Okay. Good pick.
All right.
Next? I'm going to go with the guy, Matthew, who I keep hearing was never a starting pitcher, even though he was a starting pitcher for half a season for the St. Louis Cardinals. And I heard this again because I listened to other broadcasts. I listened to the Cubs broadcast, and they said the same thing about him because they know him because they hate the Cardinals, right? They hate the Cardinals like we hate the Dodgers. And they were saying, Jordan Hicks was, they turned him into a starter over here, and he was exclusively used as a reliever when he was with St. Louis. And I'm like, you guys, nobody. But anyway, Jordan Hicks, Matthew, the once and now current starting pitcher that everybody said could only ever be a reliever. And I don't think he belongs in the MVP list because one, he doesn't pitch a lot of innings, but also two, he hasn't been as good, I think, recently as he was at the very beginning, right? He's had some losses. He's given up, like 3 or 4 runs per game. He's been getting up behind a little bit on the long ball, but the thing is he's made every start.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you imagine where they'd be without him? Even though he
No.
doesn't go longer than 5 innings, those 5 innings are really important.
They're really
right now.
important, and
Yeah.
he's aside from Logan Webb, he's made every single start, and he's a huge part of the team and the rotation right now. I think, that the value that he has added as a starting pitcher is tremendous. And I think we can't, like, he hasn't been like amazing, but he's been really good and really dependable. And I think that also qualifies him as an unsung hero. So that's my nominee, Jordan Hicks.
All right, I'm going to go with someone that you mentioned briefly before, Ryan Walker, who I believe is tied for the lead in the majors in appearances with teammate Tyler Rogers, which
Off and on, right? Yeah, this changes day to day.
I mean, and just shows you. I think Eric Miller's not far behind. Just how much they've relied on the bullpen, and Ryan Walker has just consistently shown up as a really key piece of this bullpen, and I can't imagine where they'd be without his consistency. And so for that reason, I am nominating him as an unsung hero because he just, obviously Bob Melvin has a lot of confidence in him, and he's been very effective when called upon. So Ryan Walker, he's one of my nominees for unsung heroes.
Okay, my nominee for unsung hero is a guy that you demanded to be DFA'd earlier this season. Hey, like, if you can give me a hard time about Elliot Ramos and Brett Wisely, I can give you a hard time about Sean Jelly. And look, okay. I know the last time that we saw Sean wasn't great, okay? But look, if the Giants have a bullpen that is in a proper state, Sean Jelly never goes out there for the next inning. And if his battery mate, who is a great baseball player, and I am not going to remember, define him for the rest of the season about one play. But if Patrick Bailey could put a single ball in play and win the game, Sean Jelly never has to go out there and give up 7 runs in extra innings. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so look, I know we got a bad taste in our mouth with Sean Jelly, but he has turned into an absolute beast of a closer. Absolutely reliable in high leverage situations. Just throwing, his ability to paint the inside of the strike zone against lefties is just it's unbelievable, right? And he has this fastball that, I can't remember what it's, a sinker, or I don't remember what pitch it is, but it has this really just tremendous downward break, and he can just paint that right on the inside edge of the strike zone against left-handers is just a really, really tremendously nasty pitch. And then of course, I think he added a pitch. I don't remember, Matthew. But anyway, I'm going with nominating Sean Jelly as unsung hero because he's become part of this, what is now a 5-headed, 6-headed monster. I don't know.
Yeah.
How many? I mean, the Giants bullpen. I don't know how they can't be the best bullpen in baseball at this point.
Totally, and I will eat crow with Sean Jelly. I think that my
you were in a
dislike
dark place
of him was because of the results that we saw last year, and he wasn't very effective. But you're right. This year he's made some adjustments and has pitched lights out. So there's no reason for me to disparage Sean Jelly. We would really be screwed without what he's offered this year.
Yeah.
Here's an example of how effective he's been. He gave up 6 earned runs in 2 innings in that extra inning game, and his ERA rose to only 3.54.
Yeah.
So that's how effective that he's been this year, where he can withstand a just atrocious inning and still come out with an ERA that's better than most on the team. So I agree. Sean Jelly, why not? Unsung hero.
And took one for the team in that game, and I think totally understood the assignment.
He did, absolutely. And finally, Ben, I think we mentioned him earlier today as an unsung hero. Would you start your professional career in France, and then end up, today going 5 innings to get the win against the second best team in baseball? And you strike out Shohei Ohtani on 3 pitches to end your thing. I mean, Spencer Bivens at this point could be, I mean, if he continues this, could be just a great story. Not only a great story, but somebody that really helps the Giants in a much needed way. And I just love the story. And you were all like not ready to be all excited about Spencer Bivens when he came in. You didn't like that was the story. But, we said at the time that there was only room for one Spencer on the team. And the Giants actually DFA'd Spencer Howard this weekend. Dude, so Spencer Bivens is the lone remaining Spencer.
So cold. I think... Yeah. I mean, I admit it. I complained that Spencer Bivens everybody was so excited about the story. And look, I wasn't complaining about Spencer Bivens because I didn't know anything about him. But I was just like, I don't want to be at that point in the season where we're celebrating guys because of the journey that it took them to become 29-year-old rookies. And because that was the only thing that we had left. And that's really kind of what it felt like where the Giants were playing at that point in the season. And so that was my complaint about him in general. And I was also like, this is a guy who could be DFA'd in a week, like a Spencer Howard, like a Trenton Brooks, like so many other guys that have come, like Burgos, right? Like so many people that Burgos, by the way, I think we had said, he'd played in 2 games. He only played in 1 game, Matthew. Pitched his heart out at AAA, gets promoted because he was pitching well, gets to play 1 game in the major leagues and then gets DFA'd.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
Right, and that could have happened to Spencer Bivens, and that was kind of my point at the time, which was just like, this team should be playing better. This should not be the most interesting thing. But I also said the story only becomes interesting when you pitch well at the major leagues. And he has pitched well, I think, for every outing except 1. And today, as we record this podcast, was the absolute... I mean, this could be a pinnacle of his career. Like, he may remember this day forever, no matter what happens from this point on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because his first major league start versus he gets the win against the Dodgers.
Gets the win against the Dodgers, and he strikes out the best player in baseball, not once, but twice, including on 3 pitches to get the qualifying out for the win. So is he the unsung hero for the full season? Well, for the first half, I don't know. Maybe he hasn't been around long enough, but that's the point of this award. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But now we have to pick 2. Pick one, Matthew.
All right. I'm going with Jordan Hicks. I feel like just been the guy that that everybody kind of doubted, including myself. Mm-hmm. I'll include myself in that. I was a little apprehensive about Jordan Hicks, but I'm bought in now. Jordan Hicks, unsung hero for the first half.
I'm going to go with Ryan Walker. Because we never say his name. Nobody says his name. Why? Because he's a middle reliever who always gets the job done.
Yeah.
He always gets the job done.
And you only know they don't get it. It's only noticeable when they don't get the job done.
That's right. That's right.
And so he's definitely been lights
right.
out. So
I mean, awesome. He is one of the scariest at bats in baseball. Nobody wants to face him, and he's ours. Ryan Walker, my unsung hero. All right, most improved. Now, this one is not a season-long one. This is
just from last month, right? We nominated some people, and we got to see how they've done in the last month.
This is a brutal list, dude.
I know. I'm looking at this list, and I'm like, I had to add none of the above, Ben, because I don't know if there's anybody that deserves most improved.
Okay. We don't have a ton of time left in the episode.
So let's just go through the list. I'm going to name them. Yeah. I'm going to name them. So we nominated last month as most improved as Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Kyle Harrison.
I mean,
Marco Luciano.
Yep.
And Wilmer Flores. And I don't.
3 of those guys are on the IL.
Yeah, and nobody, none of them are on the team right now.
Nope, none of them are on the team on the 26 man.
I think none of the above. I think we just gotta.
This is a none of the above, and that really hurts, right? Kyle had a good start before he turned his ankle or whatever he did in the weight room, and was starting to look like even better, right? Had been okay, and then was starting to get good. And then he gets hurt. So, yeah, no winner. Yeah, none of the above. It's none of the above. All right.
Well, now it's time to nominate some new nominees for Most Improved, Ben.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first on this
one? I do want to go first.
Okay.
Look, last year was a tough year. We had a guy in this position that was very controversial. A lot of people liked him, but a lot more people didn't like him. They blamed the whole philosophy of all of the Giants on him. And he got fired. And he got replaced, and I'm talking about the stepdad, Gabe Kapler being replaced by great manager, everybody loves him, the San Francisco kid, Bob Melvin. And so nobody wanted to say anything bad about Bob for a long time because he was supposed to change the culture, and I think he has. He, and he was everybody wanted Kapler gone, so I think it was a little bit hard to say bad things about Melvin. Well, you know what? The gloves are coming off. It's time to slap him in the face with them, or whatever. I'm nominating Bob Melvin. I'm nominating Bob Melvin for nominee for Most Improved because while they have done an excellent job of managing the bullpen, and it has been an absolute nightmare, there have been a couple of times this season where the Giants have looked bad, so bad in certain ways that it was predictable, not just by the other teams, but predictable by fans. And I am talking about two things. Number one was the approach the Giants had at the plate, I think, for the first 2 months of the season, where they were just looking at strikes all of the time. It just became so predictable that any journeyman could get ahead of almost every Giant because all he had to do was throw a strike right down the middle. And they started to pick up on this, and everybody knew it. I knew it when I was watching in the stands, okay? It took reporters asking Bob Melvin and then him acknowledging that for that to change. Fast forward to the last road trip where everybody starts to notice that the Giants' stolen base differential is just beyond ridiculous. -60s when everybody else is -30s or better. And teams are just taking total advantage of every Giants pitcher. Everybody, they got something on all of them. They know exactly when they're going to come home versus throw over, and they don't change their timing to the home plate. And it took like Pavlovich and others writing articles about this in the news before the Giants do anything about it. And the fact of the matter is, like, if other teams are seeing it, you should see it too. So maybe this isn't just on Melvin, but the coaching staff overall. But like, maybe you guys have improved the culture, but your preparation has been not great.
Yeah.
Not great.
Say what you will about Stepdad. They had excellent preparation.
They had excellent preparation.
And I think another example, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one, because I think another example is just you go back to the final game against Chicago, going into extra innings, and they turned to Luke Jackson instead of Camilo Duvall, who had been warming up earlier in the day. So it wasn't like he was going to get the day off. But they turned to Luke Jackson in a situation where most managers would bring in their reliever, because if you get those outs, then you have a much better chance of winning in the bottom of the 10th. And so, yeah, I feel like those decisions cost the team a run or a possible win. And, Bob Melvin hasn't really shown that, at least this year, that he's a much better upgrade than Gabe Kapler was at this point.
Right. I agree. I think things are different. And I think maybe that has benefited people like Elliot Ramos and maybe more of the rookies than it would have. I think certain guys are getting put into positions where they've demonstrated success more than Kapler would have given them. But
Kapler was 2 games under 500 too. So,
exactly.
I mean, I don't think we've seen much of a results.
No, I agree. So the gloves are off. Like, Bob Melvin is like, the honeymoon's over. Bob Melvin, nominee for Most Improved. Matthew.
All right, I'm going to add another one in here. And maybe this is kicking a guy when he's down because he's on the IL right now, so I don't know if there's much he can do to improve. But prior to going to, Thairo Estrada had been struggling offensively.
Yeah.
And, still playing solid second base, so there's that. But just, offensively, he's got a 264 on base.
Yeah.
And a 231 batting average. So just not a 60 strikeouts to 10 walks, Ben. Just atrocious numbers and much worse than we saw last year. So I feel like if the Giants, when he comes back, they need him to contribute more offensively. Otherwise, Brett Wisely might be the answer at second base, because at least they need some offense in their lineup. And Thairo Estrada just wasn't bringing it.
This one hurts. This one really hurts because I love Thairo a lot.
I do too. Do too.
Yeah, and you say that, and you're like, so maybe he becomes the backup shortstop, middle infielder. But I'm not sure that he's playing better than Tyler Fitzgerald. Tyler's numbers are great, but the guy just can't catch a break. He just can't stay on the roster. And I think that's because he keeps getting forced out by like more sensible choices. But this one starts to make you go wonder. But like, I don't like the answers to this one. So yeah, I definitely I nominate him so he can come back and win the award.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like it.
All right. Speaking of guys who are on the bubble, I'm going to nominate a name that has already been mentioned a couple of times today, and not in a good light. Luke Jackson. Luke had a very bad first game of the year when I felt like he single-handedly lost the game, and then had pitched well after he came off the IL. Winnowed his ERA down, and then he had one bad game, and then it's just been one bad game after another ever since then. He is the one guy in the bullpen right now, I mean, Spencer Howard notwithstanding, that you can't trust. You know, he's the one guy. He's the weak link. Luke Jackson.
Yeah. I agree. And I mean, just like his strikeout to walk ratio, I mean, he's got 20 strikeouts to 14 walks. And just so, I mean, he's not even striking guys out. I mean, he's 26 innings, only 20 strikeouts. Not the numbers that you want to see from a guy, especially as they bring him into high leverage situations like they did last Thursday. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the Giants lose patience with him, because relievers, even with multi-year contracts, if you're not getting the job done, then they're going to move on to somebody else, because you don't have that many spots. And so I feel like he's got to improve. Otherwise, they're going to bring in somebody else.
Well, these starters are allegedly going to all start coming back, right? And then you know these you're not going to be able to carry so many relievers, and you're going to have to. They only have 39 guys on the 40-man right now, so they have one spot open. But at some point, you know, you're going to choose between somebody like Landon Roop versus Luke Jackson, you know, who should be on the 26-man. And yeah, I think he's really got to turn things right around. So, you know, here we've nominated him. We've given him the opportunity.
All right. Final nominee, Ben.
Okay.
So I'm just looking at the last 30 days. Mm-hmm. Okay. Michael Conforto.
Yeah.
Is batting $143.
Yep.
Over the last 30 days. 10 hits in 70 at-bats. 22 strikeouts to 7 walks. Yes, he's hit. He's only hit 2 home runs during that time. Just overall, just not good.
Yeah, not
good at all.
He's an enigma, Matthew. We just talked about him last episode, and you were all like, "He would if he hits 28 home runs." Should we? No. And now here it is. You like look at his last 30 days. He's so up and down. He's so like he does just enough to make you go like, "Oh, I guess he's good." So, you know, I'd like to see a little more consistency out of the man. So that's agreed.
Right.
These are okay. So there you go. Bob Melvin, Tyro Estrada, Luke Jackson, Michael Conforto are nominees for most improved.
All right, who are we voting? No, we
just wait until next month. That's it. And that's it. That's the end of the show, Matthew. Goodbye.
All right. Well, it's time for the trivia question.
Oh, that's right. Brett Wisely is the answer.
The question was, how many Hall of Famers did the 1962 Giants have? And the answer is 5.
5?
The 1962 Giants had Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda, Willie McCovey, Juan Marichal, and Gaylord Perry.
Wow.
The Giants went 103-62 that year. That's 165 games. You may ask, how could they play 165 games? Well, they tied the Dodgers for the National League pennant and played a 3-game tiebreaker series and won that game 2-1, which were counted as regular season wins.
That's right.
And so, unfortunately, they went on and lost the World Series to the Yankees in 7 games that year. Another notable thing, as I was looking at that 1962 roster, I did not realize this. The Giants had Don Larson.
Never heard of him.
On their team that year. Yeah, never heard of him?
Nope.
Only pitched a perfect game in World Series?
Yeah, I heard about him. I once read this book called In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson. He was mentioned in that book.
Yeah, he was, yeah. So I just really interesting. 5 Hall of Famers, Ben.
That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's... I guess the closest that I could equate to that is the World Series era for the Giants, right? That we had 14 years ago starting, and I think maybe one Hall of Famer in that group, maybe.
Yes,
right?
yes,
Right?
right.
But Lincecum and Bumgarner and Posey, right? Like that's the closest that we could come, and it's not anything. Five, just stunning. All right, Matthew, before you get to looking ahead, I just want to say, man, that giant banana was good. I chugged that thing. I chugged it.
All right.
Yeah.
It's amazing what a little banana liqueur
Little banana
versus
liqueur
Campari will
fixes
do.
everything. Yeah. Wow. Anyway,
try that next.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Monday off. No game on Monday after like a brutal stretch of consecutive games. And then the bullpen for the Giants is going to be very happy. Then there's a 3-game series in Atlanta. The Braves are 46-36. They are second in the National League East and first in the wild card standings. They're only 5-5 in their last 10 games though. So haven't been playing as well.
we got this.
Notable players that played for both teams. Orlando Cepeda was one of them. Bobby Thompson,
Whoa.
the shot heard round the world guy, and the Panda, Pablo Sandoval, all played for the Braves and the Giants. All right. Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up. Don't forget to follow us on the socials at Giant Cocktails on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Mastodon. And don't forget to, and also YouTube. Don't forget YouTube. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and to rate us. Go and give us a 5-star review.
Yes.
If you want to say some kind words, even, type those out. They were very helpful for the show. And, but a good review is 5 stars. If you don't want to give us 5 stars, then just go have another drink.
That's right.
But in the meantime, Ben, we will see you on Wednesday. It was good chatting with you. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Matthew. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
A giant banana. I didn't realize that was a euphemism until way after I named it.
Is that a giant banana in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
No, Matthew. I have a giant banana in my hand. It's not in my pocket. Because I made it and I'm drinking it right now.